is Dr. Faisal Moola. I am the Science Director with the David Suzuki Foundation. And we're here today planting trees in what we hope will be Canada's first urban national park, which is in the Rouge watershed, just on the east side of Toronto. Well, you know, a lot of people are really concerned about the fact that our children don't have as much access to nature as we did when we were growing up. In fact, there's even a term for it. They call it nature deficit disorder. And that's a fact, you know. Increasingly, our children are so overscheduled, or they don't have opportunities to spend time in nature. And what we really wanted to do was to create an opportunity for whereby children living in Toronto could actually have access to nature through the creation of a national park on the edge of the city. And this is Rouge National Park. So we're here in the Rouge watershed, and we're in a farmland that's actually being restored back to the original forest canopy that existed here hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You know, Canada's most endangered forest ecosystem is not found out in British Columbia, it's not found up in the north. It's actually found within a half an hour's drive of downtown Toronto, and that's just here. It's called the Carolinian Forest. And the trees that we're planting here are species of Carolinian trees, and we're bringing back that ancient forest that used to be here before this place was paved over and farmed and such. Well, the problem we have is that, you know, this is farm, fields, and forests that is found just on the edge of a city, and that creates a lot of challenges. So, for example, there's illegal garbage dumping that's going on. People are poaching some of the wildlife that is found here. There's urban sprawl just on the edge of this field. And so we need to protect this place and bring it back, restore it to its previous wonder. So by creating a national park, what we'll do is that we'll bring forward really strong protections to make sure that the land is protected and restored, and that appropriate activities happen, like hiking and other recreational activities. And of course that people will have a chance to celebrate the nature and the wildlife that is found here in this national park. We also want to make sure that by bringing this into a national park, that governments will take responsibility for it and create interpretive programs so that children can learn about the rich agricultural history of this place, the rich traditions of the Aboriginal people that have lived here for thousands of years, and of course about the wildlife, like the endangered Carolinian forest that used to be in this place before it was paved over. But the key thing for us, and we're doing this today, is to bring back this forest, this Carolinian forest. It's Canada's most endangered forest ecosystem. There's dozens and dozens of threatened and endangered species, special types of frogs and salamanders and raptors. By bringing back this forest canopy, we hope that the species that were once here will begin to return. And that's really important, not only in terms of bringing back the ecological richness of Southern Ontario, but making this place a living lab where children and others can spend time and actually commune with nature. I've never seen an environmental issue that has such broad-based support by every single political party in Canada. The government of Canada, the Conservative Party, have actually put that in their platform. They intend to create a national park here. Not only do we have support at the federal level, but there's a body called the Rouge Alliance, and that is a really interesting body because it's made up of federal politicians, provincial politicians, municipal politicians, as well as NGOs and agencies like the Toronto Regional Conservation Authority. That group unanimously has supported the recommendation that the Rouge be created into a national park. And again, that's absolutely wonderful because we've got every single level of political government that also wants to see this be created as a national park. I think, you know, really that it's taken a lot of time for us to convince the politicians that this is a special place. You know, we tend to think of nature as being out there in the high Arctic or in the ancient rainforests of British Columbia, and we tend to ignore the fact that there's actually nature on the edge of our cities, and that this has to be a priority. More than 80% of Canadians now live in and around our cities, and the reality is that if we're going to be able to create an opportunity for the people of Canada to commune with nature, we can't just create national parks that are out in the high Arctic or out in British Columbia. We also need to create national parks right within our own neighborhoods. Nature is not a destination. Nature can be as close as your own neighborhood. And I think that's the reason why we haven't seen movement yet. But we've already got the politicians that are on board. The key thing right now is to get the communities that live in and around the Rouge to celebrate the opportunity to create a national park right in their own neighborhood.